Hello, everybody, and broadcasting live from southern Michigan, yes, and all around the globe. This is, of course, Bigfoot Michigan Rob. This is Beyond BMR. Of course, I'm your host, BMR, joined by the lovely Krista from the Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast. Please subscribe to the Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast, found on YouTube if not already. Of course, Bigfoot Michigan Rob, of course, found right here on YouTube. Texas Front Porch. Paranormal Paul. Monica Rollins, Our Paranormal World. Donnie Cho Says Stuff. And Truth or Tinfoil. So, yes, subscribe to them if you're new. We'd all appreciate that. I also wanted to take the time really briefly to thank everybody who's bought my books. Found on Amazon. That's right. Bigfoot Mr. Rob presents True Cryptid Encounters, Book 1 and Book 2. Simply type in Bigfoot Mr. Rob in your Amazon browser. For those that bought it, thank you. Please leave a review because it's all analytics these days, much like YouTube. A review does help push sales, like on YouTube. Hit that like button, leave a comment. That does help us as well. Thank you for that. The Super Chat's open, a great way to help support what we all do around here. Thank you for that. Also, you can become BMR Pirates. Mateys, join the many, join the few, depending on your point of view. You get a picture of good old BMR sporting a bandana. Yes, a bandana in the chat room. That's what you get right there. And, of course, we got our conference coming up the 19th and 20th of September. And so before I get into that a little bit, I'm going to bring up the lovely Krista.
Hey.
What's going on, Krista?
You see it. I'm here. Happy Tuesday.
You are there. Happy Tuesday indeed. I'm always happy on Tuesday because we have the show. And tonight's show is always it's always a great show. Tonight's going to be fantastic. I love vampires.
Me too.
And I just so happen to randomly find this young lady.
Cool.
Lisa Dawn Harris. She's the host of Velvet Bite Radio. And we're gonna do a little Halloween in August.
Sounds like a plan to me.
So it sounds like a plan. And just looking at the calendar, next week it's gonna be about a month out, right? And we
I know. I am so ready for the conference, man. It'll be here before you know it, as you said.
I still have to get a stand for my banner yet. I'm hemming and hawing, about what to get. And,
well, it's coming up, so you better get something.
Yes, I know. I just can't choose the right one. And I tell you what, I'm a fan of the store. I love going into the store. Always have, always will. I hate buying things on Amazon, but I will admit I buy quite a bunch of stuff on Amazon.
Me
but
too.
when you can't see something, because I don't know if it's going to work properly.
Right.
But, I'm just going to have to, bite the bullet and take a chance and hope that it works. I think it will.
Yep. If not, make something and rig something up.
Well, I got to tell you what, this final banner that was put together for me is heavy. I mean, it is heavy. It's not paper. It's not cloth. It's vinyl. And the mill on this thing is thick.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Very cool.
So, but I'm proud of it. I mean, I put it together and it was
really nice of Doug to do that too.
Doug did it for me from Monster Quest. He's one of our sponsors at the conference. And I sent him what I wanted and he put it together and it's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Hellbent and Holler's in chat.
Yeah.
Still would love to see you guys at our conference. Just saying.
Yeah. And so, in fact, hey, Hellbent, we got Crystal J, MK Ultra. You got to do MK Ultra changed his handle.
But if you look, like everybody's looks different.
Everybody different. I know. I noticed that. Everybody's got Wizard Moon's the same.
Like, look at Crystal J. She's got numbers now behind her.
Yeah, she used to be CJ.
Even Paranormal Paul does.
Paranormal Paul looks different.
Look at behind their names.
It's all looking weird here. Kitty Cat Whack, how's it going? Yeah, MK Ultra, you threw me there. And yes, I noticed that Hellbent asked MK when he's coming on. MK Ultra is going to be on in September.
Be fun.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward
to it. Is it going to be on a Tuesday or a Thursday?
He's going to be with us. It's be Tuesday. Cool. Oh, yeah. I get all the great guests on Tuesday.
I know, it's the best show.
Slauson, Sam Burton, MK again, bunch of you just Diane Boss, Chris J. There's over 45 in here already. I can't say hi to everybody. Thanks to everybody for coming in. So,
absolutely.
With that being said, yeah, again, I love vampires, and we're just going to get this started. I'm going to bring up the lovely Melissa from Utah.
Awesome.
And 2, 3, 1.
Hello, howdy, Melissa. Everybody.
Hi. How's it going?
I love that Halloween in August, October and August. It's great. Yeah. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, thank you. And I just kind of lucked out as I perused the web for guests. And I saw you on Facebook, and I went on your page. I said, "Wow, oh!" And she has a podcast, a radio host, and you are into. I was immediately drawn to the vampire thing because I must tell you, growing up as a kid, the very first 3 movies that my dad brought me up on and my brother, they were the black and whites. One was Bela Lugosi, Dracula. The next one was Lon Chaney Jr., the Wolfman, and the other one was Boris Karloff, Frankenstein. I was addicted ever since, and I further expanded, my love of this genre with the vampires, Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee, all those folks, so, and I seen a lot of your things and listened to some of your shows, and I said, "Oh, yep, got to have her on." So thank you for coming on in.
My favorite.
I'm sorry. I was just saying, I appreciate you guys having me on. Excited because I've done many podcasts, and I just started into the vampire folklore avenue. So I appreciate you having me on here to talk about it.
Yes.
I was just gonna say my favorite vampire movie was The Lost Boys. I think it's like back in the 80s.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Movie. Yeah, I love that.
Well, my thumbnail, I got Kiefer Sutherland now.
I saw that. And then what's the one with Brad Pitt in it? Who's the vampire?
Interview with the Vampire.
Anne Rice.
That's it.
Love it. Anne Rice. So gothic. Yes. I think one of the biggest films that got me into it, and I loved Lost Boys, but it was when I was about 15, and I seen the Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula, and that was it. I was going to research every Dracula, anything that ever existed. So it was like the typical Gen X kind of vampire Shakespearean theatrical thing. I just fell in love with it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So when did you come across the attract? You said you just started the podcast or researching this. When was your first love when you're growing up as a kid in the monster realm? Was it the vampires or was it something else? How'd you start with this?
It was probably ghosts because I lived in a haunted house. I'm Canadian originally, so I was born on the east coast of Canada, and we lived in this old Victorian for a while that was haunted. So I've always loved kind of ghost films like The Changeling and spooky stuff like that. That was my first, and Dracula and vampires were always there. And I remember The Lost Boys, of course, in 87, because I was a kid in the 80s, so that was a big one. But I always loved a good ghost story.
Yeah, and I know that we're going to talk about vampires, but Krista, she's a investigator in the paranormal. Can you briefly, before you're rolling into that, and I don't want to throw you out of your framework of your set for vampires, can you talk a little bit about that haunting, that haunted house a little bit?
Well, it was an old Victorian, and there had been... I moved in there. My mom was a single parent, and we moved in there with another lady who was a single, divorced. So there was several different kids, and then another lady rented with us because it was a big house. So all these 3 little kind of cockeyed families are renting this house, and my mother went in to clean it up she's a clean freak, before everyone moved their stuff in, and right away she started to have things like, and it was Victorian, like everything, old chandeliers, like right from the 1900s, old light switches. And while she was cleaning the chandelier, the light switch went off and on. It kept going on, off and on while she was doing it. And she was like, okay. And that was the first thing. And then it just kind of escalated from there once people moved in, and there was more energy of different people. you would hear the doors of cupboards open and closing at night, and nobody could find it. They'd be sweeping, and someone would come and tap their shoulder, and there would be nobody there. You always felt like somebody was watching you. And then, of course, there was, the stories are so, I'm trying to remember, it's like 42 years ago or something. But it was like, it was in the early 80s, totally different time. Like, it's like a world away. And there was one night where my mother had her brother babysitting us while she was out. And it was me and a couple of the other kids. And one of the boys that lived with us, the young boys, he was a paraplegic. So he was wheelchair bound. And we were all upstairs sleeping. And he was crying. And my uncle could hear all these footsteps happening upstairs. Mm-hmm. He thought it was us girls running around and causing a stink. So he comes up to tell us to go to bed, and we're all sleeping. And he could hear the little boy in his room crying, and he goes in there and he says, what are you crying about? And he's telling him there's a man walking around in my closet. And he's like, that's just silly. You're being ridiculous. So he leaves to go out and go down the stairs, and he starts hearing the footsteps again. And he realizes they're coming from that room, and we're sleeping. And he just freaked out and woke us all up and made us all come downstairs. And it wasn't the first time. I'd heard those footsteps many of times. And so I'm assuming it was some man dressed in like a Victorian wear, someone walking around, and he would go into the closet. And this little boy, I never saw him. I only ever heard him walking around upstairs. But this little boy saw him. And my uncle was like, I don't ever want to babysit you guys again. It scared him bad. But there was a lot of other instances and stories, and it was just a spooky house.
Wow. Sounds like it, especially being a child.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know if I just sort of was like, yeah, whatever. It's just our ghost. The other kids were more scared than I was. I just sort of didn't, I don't know.
Yeah.
I was really cocky then. I was really cocky then. I was trying to be tough.
Yeah, it's just a ghost.
But it really frightened him.
Yeah. I bet. Unlike me, when I saw my first ghost, I ran to my mom and dad's bedroom crying like a baby. But I digress.
I think it's different because I heard it. If I had seen it, I might have had a different reaction. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that poor little guy, he couldn't walk. He couldn't get out of his bed. He's stuck there, and he sees this man standing in his closet. That's kind of scary.
Yeah, I think for kids it is traumatic. My oldest daughter, I have a friend who still lives in the same house, but it's a haunted house, and she was like 6 years old. And in my friend's bathroom, it was an old house as well. Well, it is an old house. Mm-hmm. And in the bathroom, there's two doors. One door goes into the master bedroom, and then the other door goes out to, regular area. And my daughter, she was like 6, went into the restroom, and I start hearing her screaming bloody murder. So I run back in there, and she's crying, and she said the man wouldn't let her out of the doors. Yeah. Ooh. So to this day, my daughter is 30 years old, and she will not go to the bathroom in that house by herself. I literally still to this day have to go in the bathroom with her when we're there, and she has to use it.
Wow.
Yeah, and she was young at that time. So.
That's traumatizing.
Yeah, it was, and she doesn't want anything to do with the ghost or the paranormal or anything because of that encounter. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. So it's crazy.
I know. Well, recently we were here. I went on a ghost hunt here at the county building in Salt Lake City, and I didn't even know, but apparently that's where they had Ted Bundy.
Oh.
And they tried him for kidnapping, but we all know he was guilty of a whole bunch of other horrible stuff.
He was awful.
Yeah. And so while we're there and we're doing this stuff and weird stuff happened, they took us in this tunnel, and they're like, this is where they led Ted Bundy under the court. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like dark stuff. And I was just like, ugh. I didn't know. I had just moved to Utah. I didn't know that Ted Bundy, this was one of his areas until I started to research it after they told me that. And I was like, oh, this is dark.
Yeah. Well, I think that residual energy too, just, the negativity of it, of like these serial killers, I think it sticks, it stays in those locations, those areas.
Yeah. And the people that were affected are still alive and around here, and it's pain.
Yeah. It's scary stuff for them.
it is very painful, and I can't. And that, like you said, that residual energy, much like ghosts. And speaking of the dark side, let's talk a little about the Prince of Darkness himself. You like that?
Well, I don't know about that.
Well, my segue, steering it, vampires. Now, let me ask you this. This will be the hardest question you're going to get all night long. Do you think that, and I'm not talking the energy, I don't want to do a show on like energy vampires. My buddy is an energy vampire. I know several. I can think his name, and I'm drained. And I'm not kidding when I say that, okay?
Yeah.
That aside, do you think that the undead, is this folklore? Do you think that vampires at one time, and perhaps even today, Melissa, walk the earth?
Well, I think it's a really good metaphor, but I also think it's clearly based in something in folklore, right?
Okay.
There's something in folklore, but like with dead, like before the period where they wrote like the Victorian Gothic novels or the Vampire by John Polidori, the vampire was never seen as an elite prince. It was always seen as like this rotting corpse that came from the grave. And it was like someone you knew, someone who had died and had these symptoms. And now everybody in the village is having the symptoms and they've got to figure out what's going on. And so I think it's rooted in that, but I think you can go back into history and see all sorts of figures and characters, Elizabeth Bathory, Vlad, Dracula. You can see all sorts of characters and realize why people thought there was vampires. And, is there a demonic, can you get possessed and be a vampire? I don't know if you can actually bite someone and turn them into a vampire, but I think you can be some sort of creature that feeds off of blood, or a human that is psychotic that feeds off of blood. And there's all sorts of conspiracies. I'll just leave it at that. I won't go into too much depth about torture and sacrifice and stuff like that. That is so dark. That I think there's something to it in the past. I mean, on Tuesday nights, I've just started doing a show called the sort of like we're living in this kind of like a false world that's like a virtual reality vampire kind of thing with society. And so I don't doubt that these figures are very real and that people had to suffer some horrible atrocities from who knows.
Yeah.
Who knows? I like, it gets so dark in some of the researches in the rabbit holes. It can be quite alarming to even think about. And sometimes I'm like, I don't want to go down too deep because I'm like, I don't want something showing up, psychic backlash or something. Right. But I don't doubt that there's something in history that connects, and maybe even to this day, ritual wise, that connects to some kind of vampiric activity.
Yeah.
I am a big history buff in certain genres, and certainly the vampire is one of them. And I got to ask you, what's your thoughts on the early, period back in Romania and Transylvania and all the European countries? Because I know a lot of this really, and the folklore. And I will ask you this really briefly. I do believe that folklore has some element of truth behind it, right? I mean, and of course, over the years, it can be fabricated, right? And over spoke about, and people add on to things. But I think there's always an element of any folklore, something, these stories came from somewhere. What fascinates you most about the history going way back in time to these early periods?
Well, my biological father, I was raised by my stepfather, but my father is Eastern European. He's from Croatia and relatives from that area. So I was always fascinated by that history. And it's this idea, especially in the folklore tales, not just that they're literally trying to cope with something that they perceive is like a demon invading their village. They're trying to save their people and save their tribe or whatever it is. And they don't understand about infectious diseases. They don't understand necessarily that But I'm caught up in that it's infectious disease, but there's also people reporting having nightmares, like almost like an old hag symptom of something coming back from the grave that just died and suffocating them. And I find that really weird, almost like paranormal. Like there's something going on besides just a disease. Could it be psychosomatic? I don't know. But these people, are braving in the middle of the night, going out with a village, maybe with other people, and they're doing these rituals, trying to vanquish this vampire. And these rituals still happen.
Yeah.
My friend, she's Eastern European as well. Her father was from there, and they went back in like 1981, 82, before the wall fell. And it was like right back, like you would think of in the book Dracula. And they had all those customs and rituals and dances. There was no plumbing. There was no bathroom. There had to be an outhouse. And she said it was really strange, even in the early 80s. So I'm fascinated by that existed, and that could still be there, this part of ancient history that we try to wipe away.
So I have a couple of friends, and they are modern day vampires. Mm-hmm. And they do they go to New Orleans to the balls, and, at Halloween, mm-hmm. they spend their time down there doing all that stuff down there, and then they have the teeth, the fangs, and things like that. But, I was very curious at first about it, because I didn't know a whole lot about it. And mm-hmm. for like the modern day ones, they say it's more like a lifestyle, and it's
like a subculture.
Yes. Yeah. And it's everything from, like some sexual BDSM type stuff mm-hmm. to, mm-hmm. To like the energy vampires. And they explained to me that they don't drink the blood, but some do. And it's called this and that. And it's just, I don't get it. It's just hard for me to comprehend, but it's very interesting to me that culture still is around today.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I'm not sure of the exact history. I'm sure it probably goes back farther than we know. I've never actually researched that kind of subculture in detail. I've always stuck with the folklore. Yeah. I don't understand it. The blood drinking stuff would be a weird boundary. I'd be like, no, that's you're just violating some weird boundaries.
Just not the thought of drinking blood itself, but the diseases that you can get from blood.
Yeah. And in Dracula, the book, it says blood is the life. And Bram Stoker got that line from biblical texts, where it basically mm-hmm. is blood is the life, but it's telling you never drink the blood of another creature. That's its life force. Like, it's not about meat. You have to rinse the blood off. You never bring sacrifice into the temple and do something with the blood. It's a sin. And that's where he got it from. It's from biblical scripture, and it's sacred energy. It's your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Source.
Yep. Thanks, Eddie and Jen and family.
Yes, thanks to Eddie and Jen, the vlogs. You can find them on YouTube. They got a great show. They do a variety show. I've always been on it. The girls have been on it, I believe.
Well, I'll be on Sunday. I'm going on Sunday.
Eddie's got a great, cool show. It's a family show, nice variety show, but they talk about paranormal, a whole bunch of cool mm-hmm. stuff. So please, thanks, Eddie, and check them out.
They're good people.
Good people. Great people. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I could never understand. I read that too. I remember the blood is the life force, but it's funny mm-hmm. because if us as humans just to drink another human's blood, that could perform the opposite on us. Get deathly sick. Mm-hmm. Right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it's interesting, though, all the techniques you see, vampire facials and God knows what other techniques they have to stay young today. There's something to it. Mm-hmm. If you can, I guess, do it in a sanitary way, but they have like strange medical procedures to help people who have the right amount of money, right. obtain that. So there is something about blood and that connection to youth and vitality. And it can be diseased, obviously, but it also can be potent. And I think that's why when we talk about those elites with their weird rituals, that's why they want young people, right? They don't want old people.
Well, I think too, I've watched a lot of different TV shows on it, and there's like people who are the host, like mm-hmm. that's what they do. They've been tested and stuff, for, diseases and stuff. I just can't get over that idea of, doing that. That just, Not my thing, I guess.
Yeah,
No,
no.
I does not excite me. Does not. I don't want to travel that. I don't. I don't even like tasting my own blood, which I admit I
Right.
have. I've cut a
Tinny
finger.
taste.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Or something, yeah.
Really quickly, thank you, Mr. Spikes Pops. Our 5 new pirates.
Yep.
Thank you,
Gary.
Love you, brother. I do want. There's a question. We're getting a lot of questions. We're starring already because a lot of people have a lot of great questions already. I mean, since Jenny, Eddie, and Jen left, asked me a question, and I got my take on this, but I want yours, Melissa. Vlad the Impaler, is that supposedly how the concept of Dracula came to be?
Well, he's certainly a part of it because Bram Stoker did a lot of he never left England. He never left the United Kingdom, but he did a lot of research in the libraries in London. So he was exposed to historical context, woodcuts from Germany, travel pamphlets and stuff like that. So he did know about Vlad, but he also based the character off of his boss, the actor Henry Irving, who was pretty highly narcissistic and kind of like a Dracula. And he was kind of like a Renville character to him, I would assume. But he's also, look, Dracula was published, 1897. You had Jack the Ripper in 1888. There's societal things happen. So I think he's pulling from all over. I think Dracula is a really good composite. And I think that's why it's such a powerful character, because it can kind of go through each era and be a composite and a reflection of whatever's going on in your society. So it's totally true that Vlad the Impaler inspired the character from a historical and from the name for definitely 100% and some of the woodcuts. But I think his Henry Irving had a huge influence on the actual character and the behavior and the narcissism.
My take on that whole Vlad the Impaler, and when I was a kid, like I said, years ago, I read up on vampires and all this, and I came across Vlad the Impaler. And what I got, he fought was at war with another country, but Vlad was very fierce, and yes, he did impale his enemies on stakes, surrounded his fortress, his area. But I never got the sense that he became an actual evil entity. Maybe a cruel, vicious fighter that everyone was scared of, because he was always and every fighter is going to come back dripping in blood. Let's remember, during this type of war, you got hatchets and swords. You're hacking off limbs. Everybody's full of blood. I just think that, like Bram Stoker, used a part of that, right? Right. And in fact, Vlad the Impaler, didn't he get killed himself and was hung and was impaled himself, and his head was cut off and brought to his castle, which kind of scared off his army, if you remember, something like that.
It's a complex history because there was a lot of contention between the Turks, who were Islamic, and Christendom, right? So you had Vlad when he was a child, who was actually imprisoned by the Turks. His father led him to be imprisoned. So he learned a lot of probably sadistic stuff from them. But so he also knew what to expect when he was reigned a couple of different times. He was in, then he was kicked out, then he was in again. I don't have the exact dates around me, but this is the buffer zone between Christian Europe being invaded by the Turks, and he had to be brutal. He's actually considered a national hero in Romania. He's not considered a monster. So right. I think there might have been also a lot of propaganda written about him by other nobles in the area, because he was brutal with the local nobles who were corrupt. A lot of those nobles who got it from him were also corrupt and not very, they're greedy like politicians are today. And so there was a lot of people kind of wanted to get him under control. So I'm sure they're woodcuts from Germany. They're telling you he's dining and people are impaled. And so how much of that is accurate, I don't know, because people did do propaganda. They also say that a lot of the stuff about Elizabeth Bathory was propaganda. So it's hard to say, but he was brutal, but he was also considered a hero and highly respected by the Romanian people. So he was never considered a vampire. He was considered a warrior that defended the country.
I agree with that. I think he wasn't considered a vampire. I think maybe Bram Stoker used some of that and spun it. But you did mention really quickly about Elizabeth Bathory. Did she really? Okay, now we know the story behind that, right? She virgins their blood. She bathed in their blood, hundreds. Now, not calling her a vampire, but is that part of that history actually true? Did she believe that that was her lifeblood by murdering these young women and bathing in their blood?
This story is that it was an accident and she got some of the blood on her and she felt like it made her youthful. And so she went on this kind of serial killer murderous rampage. And like I said, we don't know how much of it is true. Some people today say they think a lot of it was made up because she was a woman in power. I don't know how true that is. We'll never know what girls were really missing. Nobody was keeping track, but the legend still stands that she was basically torturing these girls, dangling them, hoisting them up, draining their blood, bathing in fresh blood to stay young. And of course, she was walled up as punishment. And I don't know how many years she lived that way, but she finally died walled up. Not the best fate. And from what I understand, Bram Stoker was also exposed to stories about her, so he would have known about her existence. So
you're gonna find. Go ahead.
Go ahead. It's okay.
Okay, you're gonna find we kind of jump all over because I just got to pull this up really quick. Back to Vlad. Vlad, this is one of our buddies, Danny. Vlad was ambushed. Now this is allegedly. And I think I heard this. Vlad was ambushed and supposedly beheaded, but there was never no proof that happened to him. He basically just disappeared, and the fact that they dug his grave at the church in Romania, when they dug it up, it was empty.
It was
that
empty.
Would be spooky. Now, was that? Did you say it was not? It was not empty, or
no,
it was?
He's right. It was empty. There's no body in there. They still have it as his grave, and people go and see it, but there's no. That you can go in Romania and Sighisoara and go to the place where he was born, the house where he was born, very simple. But some of the castles, they even say that he occupied, he may not have, but there is one that he did. It's a pretty imposing. I think it's all dilapidated now. You can go there, but we don't know where his body is. We don't know what happened to it. I mean, if they beheaded him and got rid of him, I wouldn't be surprised. But we really don't know because there's no body there.
That's interesting. On a side note, talking about Romania and Vlad. So my past life, I've been told by several people that I was a peasant in Romania at one time.
Wow.
Peasants. Wow.
Nice.
Peasant.
Is that the small role that you had that you showed me the picture of when you were a peasant girl, all dressed up?
That was Civil War reenacting.
Oh,
I love it. I love it. How was that? Like when you did that, did you have any weird experiences reenacting the Civil War? Like is any paranormal? I would assume that it would.
Oh yeah, you name it. We would hear, and I actually captured like cannon fire on empty battlefields and horses running. There's no horses running in the middle of the night. Yeah, we captured a lot of stuff. It's pretty crazy, battlefields.
Wow.
And that's why I like doing it. I like going for I love history and stuff, the historical part of it, but I love the ghosting in the middle of the night too,
Yeah. Perfect place to do it. But I've heard some people say that kind of the Civil War areas are the most haunted they've ever experienced, ever.
Very haunted. Mm-hmm.
I got to ask you this, Melissa, because I was bummed out when I found out about this, and you might know more than I do about this. People were asking me, I've talked with friends and even, chatting with Krista or whoever about a bunch of places you'd like to visit as haunted places. And for many years, my number one choice was always I'd like to spend the night in Dracula's castle. Mm-hmm. So maybe several months ago, I was really disappointed because now I guess it's been renovated, remodeled. It's just this big tourist attraction. and it's nothing what it was prior to it being bought out by some company, of course, to make money. Is there truth to that? Is that, because I didn't really see, I mean, I don't think you can go and visit the place. I mean, I'd love to have visited that back in the day.
I think that's Bron Castle, and I think they did renovate it. And, you know, I'm not sure to the extent what, but I know it's gotten pretty touristy because it, you know, as much as they feel that that does not represent Vlad, Dracula, their Tepesh, it's also a money revenue that they didn't have before. And, you know, they're coming out of communism there in the 90s and stuff. So, you know, they had some catching up to do. And it's a beautiful country. And that, I mean, that whole area of the Carpathian Mountains is just steeped in folklore. It forms like a horseshoe. It comes down Europe and it forms a horseshoe in that area. And it's just, whew, I can imagine there's some intense, like, folkloric beliefs that surround it. So, I mean, even if they did do any alterations, the land is so, you're gonna experience a great experience if you go there anyways.
So, okay, let's pre-Bram Stoker and Vlad. Well, not really pre-Vlad, but pre the book, the novel Dracula, when it came out. Going back into history, why did you think that a lot of these villagers in the Carpathian Mountains, Romania, or wherever, I mean, where did that folklore come from about a vampire that, you know, came out at night and seek, you know, human beings and drink their blood? Where did that all originate if we just eliminate the novel from the equation?
Well, I think a lot of it may have, and you can correct me in the audience if I'm wrong, but I think a lot of it may have come out of India.
Okay.
Originally. And gypsies and stuff like that, because gypsies are in a lot of these folkloric tales, and it's a real thing in that area of Europe, and even up into France, and even sometimes in the United Kingdom there was gypsy numbers, and I think that they just traveled and bring some of those beliefs with them, and it probably goes all the way throughout all the cultures. India, you know, Greek, Egypt, they probably have some kind of figure that feeds off the blood of the living, because I think beyond anything, everybody knows that your blood, you know, if you bleed and you don't stop, you die. It's your life essence. It's pretty obvious that, you know, it's a simple connection to make. So I think the actual Romanian one, though, I think it comes out of India, and I could be wrong about that.
I think I heard that somewhere.
Wow, interesting. There's a quick question here, and I think she's right. Isn't Romania where the forest is? Yeah.
Is that Boicu Forest?
I don't remember.
Boicu.
Yeah.
Boicu. Yeah, it's in Romania, and I've heard I've seen there's this really cool channel called Amy's Crypt. And they went to Romania through some villages, and Hoia-Baciu Forest. Yeah, they went in that forest and they go through some villages. They go to Sighișoara. Check it out because it's like real footage of the area, and they go and stay in that forest. Super awesome. It's a paranormal channel. I love it.
Yeah. Yep. Did you see the one? I think it was the one you were talking about. Was it with Josh Gates? Did you see that one? He was there and
no, I don't think I've seen.
Yeah, he had somebody, I don't remember who it was, but they were like pushed back or something. It was pretty.
Yeah. Creepy. I always wanted to go to that Corvin Castle. It's in Romania, and that there's a biopic about Vlad Tepesh that they made in 1979, and they actually shoot it in Romania because it was a Romanian heritage film. So you can see, if you go watch that film, it's not about the vampire, it's about the historical figure. You can actually go and see they shoot at some of those castles and all those areas in Romania back in 79, 78. History.
It is all about history. That's what we were talking about earlier. I love history. Krista does. And in the folklore, there's always something about the folklore that, people say, oh, folklore, this, that, and the other. But the stories come from somewhere, and some of them again are fabricated, but that's why I love, because you don't know the root of the situation until you investigate the history behind everything. So I assume that's what you do with a lot of when you do your. Okay, you have your radio. You have Velvet Bite Radio, and everybody, the link for that is posted here in the description. If somebody in chat could drop the link, that'd be great. If you could find it for me, for Melissa.
Yeah.
So
all the links are also on my website, which is below my name.
And I also have that posted here too. So yes, I noticed that it pulls up everything for you, which is pretty smart. That's what I should do, or like Linktree or whatever. But anyways, so what are the things that you've researched in the past that maybe we haven't heard about other than these popular ones that would be cool to share with us?
Well, I haven't researched. Okay, so one thing that I want to get on, that I want to research.
Okay, yeah.
Because I live in Utah, is this idea of vampires linked to skinwalkers.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
I haven't been over there. I'm kind of leery about going over there because we're about 4 hours away, and people say they go there and weird stuff happens or they get sick.
Yeah.
Like, Jack Osborne, he was doing the ranch over there, doing his show, and that's when he came down with MS symptoms and had to leave. And I was like, oh hell, I don't know if I want to go.
Right. That's
but
scary.
I wanted to investigate this native vampire tradition, and I haven't. I'm starting on it. My husband's like nudging me, and I'm like, yeah, we got to go there. We got to go to Skinwalker. So I can't tell you anything yet.
Yeah, well, I'll be looking forward to that, because you do know that Skinwalker, outside of Skinwalkers, you've got UFO alien activity. You've got Dogman. You got a whole bunch of creepy, crazy stuff going on.
Yeah, mutilation.
And then, of course,
kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, radiation. I mean,
mutilation.
Radiation.
Radiation.
Radiation, mutilation, cattle mutilation. What's the word? Mutilate. I can't say it. I'm not going to try.
We all know what you mean. There you go.
I can't even say. Why can't I say it? Mutilization. Did I just say it right?
You got it.
Okay, there we go. Mutilated. They were mutilated. But anyways. So yeah, that's actually a cool place to go, especially if you're in Utah. I tell you what, if you live in Utah, you definitely got to make the trip.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Especially
we were invited to go down there, but I didn't have time. This past weekend, we were to a car show, but it's like 4 hours there, 4 hours back, and I just didn't have time. And I'm like, another time.
Yeah. It's on my bucket list, at least, to go get a selfie in front of Skinwalker Ranch. I know they don't want
for sure
there, but yeah, at least take a selfie there, in front of it.
Well, the guy who owns it, what's his name? Brandon Fugel. He actually lives by my in-laws. They live in the same area. Oh, I never thought to ring him up because he'd probably be like, "Get away, you crazy!" But they all live in the same area.
That's awesome. It's really a scary place, though. I'm not so sure. I honestly would want to go there and investigate, just because of the things that do happen. Like you mentioned Jack Osborne, with the MS and the ranch, the farm manager, Thomas Winterton, he had that growth in his skull. And, and then we have here in Missouri, we have Marley Woods. Well, people have had illnesses and sicknesses, which is similar to Skinwalker Ranch. Same thing here. And there's different places around the United States, I believe, that, I think they're connected in a way. However, I just don't think that I really want to go and investigate those type of places.
Yeah, I talk about having to wrap yourself up in tinfoil.
Absolutely.
Like something.
Yeah, it's scary stuff, really. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, my husband had a weird experience that he thinks was a skinwalker. I can't remember I remember it generally, so I can't really repeat it. It's his story, but it scared him. He took off. He was like truck driving, and he was like, I'm moving. I'm not leaving my truck here. I'm gone. His hair on the back of his neck standing up, kind of feeling he was out of there. So I'm like, I don't know if I want to see that.
I'm with you. I'm with you on a lot of that kind of stuff. I don't want to. Yeah.
We all are into it. We want to visit it and see it, but as long as we are guaranteed that, we're not.
Well, there's no guarantee though, Rob. That's the thing.
There's no guarantees in anything, as we all know. So Melissa, we all hear about this. This is where I don't know where this all came about. We've all seen it in the movies, in some of the books. So where did it come across where a true vampire, an undead, the cross, holy water, kill them only with a wooden stake, right? Or then some people, then it evolved into an iron stake, this, that, and the other.
Mm-hmm.
Where did that all come from? What country did that come from? Or
A
whatever you
lot,
know about it.
a lot of that stuff I think is very Eastern European folklore,
Okay.
and of course, the stuff that every movie adds its own thing.
Yes.
So it's kind of a muddle, but if you go back to Eastern Europe, you're going to find that it's basically they're digging the body up. They might impale it. They might cut its head off, stuff its mouth with something or garlic, or they might do like a knotted net and wrap that around it, thinking that it would have to unknot things and get its way out. They want a way to make sure that doesn't reanimate and visit people and pass on the vampiric disease or infect the rest of the village. So they probably would have been better off to burn the body. That probably would have killed the disease, but that's it's very Eastern European. The idea of sunlight, it's not even in Dracula's in the book. Sunlight never kills Dracula in the book. It weakens him. But there's a weird thing about the soil, about the land, blood and soil. Like Dracula has to have his soil in his coffin and they transport it with him. So that's one of the myths in the book, that they have to consecrate the soil and make sure that he doesn't have a resting place. So there's this idea of making sure that even if they get out, they can't get back. And then they lose their power or they weaken, and then you can stake them. But then of course there's nothing in the folklore that I know of about, not in the Eastern European folklore, about having something like a Renfield character. That kind of sounds like some kind of voodoo stuff to me, like the zombie stuff where the zombie becomes like some witch doctor's slave. But it's a lot. There's so much that gets added on that has nothing to do with folklore.
Sure.
You say about the Renfield character, just thinking back in every vampire movie I've seen with Renfield, it's kind of odd. Even Chris is kind of smiling even, and it's kind of like I never quite figured out how and why he was in the movie. I mean, you never see him getting bitten. I mean, Dracula's using him as some dummy in the insane asylum to get information from maybe Dr. Seward or whoever the particular film is. He's eating the flies, I mean, that was in the book, right? And I just never got his real role, what his purpose. It was just added in there maybe.
Right. So originally in the novel, when Jonathan Harker leaves England and goes over to Romania, he goes as a real estate agent. He is replacing Renfield. Renfield was the first real estate agent to go over there to help procure land for Dracula, and he comes back insane, and they put him in an insane asylum. So when Jonathan goes over there and experiences the horror that experiences, you realize why Renfield's insane because he went there and he basically crossed the threshold and got controlled. Maybe he was bitten. I don't know. Dracula doesn't actually give him the same immortality that he gives the women or that kind of.
No, he almost kind of keeps him as like not even a henchman because the guy is not even with him. In Salem's Lot, they had that one creepy human that protected the vampire. If you remember Salem's Lot, right? The Marston house. Remember that movie?
Yeah.
I think now that was my favorite. That's in my top 10 list. Salem's Lot.
That's scary.
Yeah. He's like, these vampire figures need someone who can walk about in the day and do all their stuff, get their properties, get things arranged, and he just went insane. And as you notice, he seems to, I don't know if he's bitten because it's never really said that he's bitten. But he is trying to get spiders. And he kind of begs for a kitten. He wants life. He screams, blood is the life kind of thing. So he is kind of half deranged. So you wonder if he's infected somehow.
It's kind of like Dracula or the vampire, whatever movie, was just kind of playing games with him. I think it's like he promised him a life ever
Yeah.
after, but you've got to do this first. You've got to do this second.
Do you
Well,
notice
Dracula is a psycho. He'll never give you what he wants because he ultimately didn't have the blood that he wanted, the pure virgin blood.
have you noticed on a lot of the movies too, most of the movies actually, like Dracula is, very handsome and, very like, sexual, and I bet in true life they really weren't.
No, and he's not even like dapper or handsome in the book.
Yeah.
He's got like hairy palms, a carotid mustache. He's old and he grows younger as he drinks blood, but he's seen lizard-like climbing down the wall.
Yeah.
There's nothing attractive or handsome about him. That was done in the Hamilton Dean play that eventually became the Bela Lugosi film, kind of based on. They made him more. They gave him a good PR, some good marketing, some appeal for cinema, visual appeal.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think Bella was all that attractive either. He was kind of creepy looking, but and just even Jason Finch says, the crazy that Nosferatu movie. Now that was an ugly, right? With the pointed ears.
Yeah.
And there was a black and white that they did too, a remake of that. That was very creepy, very skinny, and there's so many I can't remember all of them, right? But so some are depicted as handsome, some as monsters. But in the book, I remember the Dracula crawling down that wall. It looks like a lizard, very demonic and very evil.
Well, one of my favorite movies is the 1979 Nosferatu. It stars Klaus Kinski as that Nosferatu character. It was released in 79. It was by Werner Herzog. And what's interesting about him, Werner, after the war, his mom left the city, and he was raised in like a village, a Swiss mountain village with no technology. He didn't know anything exists. So he had this really good sense of how to make the environment a character and how to film the mountain range and what that was like to live without technology in the mountains like gypsies. And I just love that movie because I feel like instead of it's just about the vampire, the actual environment becomes a character, and it's just really well shot. But
I liked it. Is that the same one where they actually cast, was he a real vampire cast in the role of a vampire?
No, he was an actor. Klaus Kinski was kind of was he German? He was a crazy, unhinged actor, but he looks like the 1920 or 19 whatever Nosferatu from what's his name? Max Schreck. He looks very similar idea, but you're getting real castles, like real forest in Europe, as close as he can get to Romania. I don't think he could shoot in Romania at the time because of politics and stuff like that, but it's pretty close.
Wow, very cool.
And when Jonathan Harker, the character who's played by Bruno Ganz, who actually played Hitler at one point and won an award for it, he's so like that good of an actor. He can be Jonathan Harker, he can be Hitler. He's like going in towards the castle, and it reminds me of the book because it's not just about, we're going to a scary vampire. He's literally going into the land of folklore. He's leaving civilization. He's leaving this world of safety, and he's literally going into the mountain range, and you can just feel like it's enveloping him and it's swallowing him before he even gets in the castle. It's just spooky. And now he's in another world.
Wow.
That is spooky. One of the movies that you were talking about, though, what I was kind of referring to was, it was a black and white movie, but I think it was made maybe in the 70s or 80s, where they actually used, in the movie, they had a real vampire.
Are you about Shadow of the Vampire?
Yeah, I think that might have been.
Yeah, I think that was in the 90s. That's a good one.
That's
a really good one.
Pretty creepy. And that was another ugly looking vampire.
He was not pretty. He certainly didn't look like Lestat or anything like that.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? Yeah, okay. I wasn't going to bring this up.
Do it.
Anne Rice, that movie came out. Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise. At first, I thought this movie is going to stink. Come on.
It cannot stink with Brad Pitt in it.
Well,
So-
that's what I mean, you know. But I got to tell you, I thought Cruise did a great job. But here's what I got so disappointed where they screwed up with that movie. And I don't know how it was written in the book. Why did the Brad Pitt character, what was his name in the movie?
I don't remember.
Louis.
Why did he become such a PUSSY? He was given a beautiful life, and he's just worried about his about why he made the mistake. The guy, he had nothing to live for. He was doing great. He lived in a great time, you know, and he was eating rats for hundreds of years.
Oh, yummy.
I mean, and you know, the guy made the choice, and I was just so disappointed that he was kind of a wimpy vampire. And that story went on and on. The story was a great story.
Mhm.
Then, of course, the girl that never could grow up. I mean, it was such a great story outline. I was just disappointed that the Brad Pitt character was kind of a wimpy guy. And that's just my pet peeve on that movie.
Right.
I know it all can't be guts and gore, but it was the human side.
There is a little that history there because, like, Anne Rice had lost a daughter, and in her grief, she was drinking, and she locked herself away and wrote "Interview with the Vampire." And I think at the time she saw herself as the Louis character, who was in this like deep state of, you know, torn apart about everything in life, and she saw her husband, who was a poet, and Stan Rice, as like the Lestat figure. But as she developed, and the vampire, I was disappointed that they never made the Vampire Lestat with the same actors, because it's a really good book. And I think as she went on writing and developing the characters in the series, she realized that, okay, you know, that she was both characters. Both characters were her, not her or her husband. It was her. She was writing her story. So I think Louis was just some kind of element that was tortured and in despair. He loses his daughter and he just can't get out of that despair. And he has this humanness to him that never leaves. So I think it's how she dealt with her grief in writing that character. I could be wrong, but I think that's where it came from.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Sorry.
No idea.
Yeah.
No,
I love that because I had no idea. I learned something today.
Yeah, and the Vampire Lestat was a great book. It actually gives you a backstory to Lestat and shows you why he's killing the people he kills, and it's not like Louis has this perspective of him that's not actually accurate. It's actually really good. And I was so disappointed that they didn't get Cruise and him to do the sequel.
Yeah. You know what? I'm ready to go watch that movie again. I haven't watched it in a long time.
They have a new TV series on it, and I tried to watch it and I turned it off.
It's not the same with real people.
No.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Yeah. And not to mention, I didn't watch it, and I didn't like. I'm not going to comment why I didn't like it because
I'm already guessing, but it's just it wasn't subtle enough for me. It also, the characters were all wrong. Everything was just wrong, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm done here. I'm turning this off.
Yeah, understand that.
Eddie had a quick question. In 1996, Rod Farrell led a self-styled vampire clan in Florida and Kentucky. It started as a role-playing circle, but spiraled into murder. Are there any real vampire cults today?
Well, I don't know. There probably is on the internet somewhere a vampire cult. I don't know. I've never heard of a serial killer vampire cult like the instance of Rob Farrell, but I remember when that happened because I was just graduating from high school and stuff, and I had friends who were into the vampire stuff and lived grungy like that, and I remember watching them going, I hope none of them are like serial killers. Maybe I should be hanging out with them. But I think obviously there's something wrong with him because most of people can go and play those games and not take it seriously and live a life. Obviously there's something wrong with that young man, that he is a psychopath, that he has to actually, it could have been anything. He could have done vampires. He could have attached to anything. and probably done the same thing. Normal people don't do a role-playing game and then start planning to and entice people and manipulate them to kill their own parents.
Right.
It's pretty sick.
Yeah.
It's like kind of messed up.
Mm-hmm. I think I actually saw a documentary or something on that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember it at the time being featured in some vampire documentary as like the dark side to the vampire life. But I think it's just he's a psychopath. They caught him, thank God. He could have been a serial killer that went worse. And that's just how he chose that aesthetic. And unfortunately, and there's different degrees, like you said, the BDSM weird stuff. And he obviously went farther into it and wanted to be a real vampire and acted it out.
And they do. They from what I gathered from people I know, like they, have meetings and everything. It's just odd to me. But to your own, I guess,
It's definitely an extreme form of escapism.
Yeah.
And exactly. I mean, I know I had a girl come on. It's actually an old interview from a long time ago. She's a really nice girl. She's, she had fangs and stuff like that. And she did a radio show. I don't think she has the fangs on anymore. She's moved and stuff, but she lived that life where she just had fangs on. She was really lovely to talk to. She wasn't psycho or anything like that. Right. She loved that aesthetic. She loved the look. She loved the romantic, dramatic side of it. And she just loved to do it.
Yeah, that's how these people are. And they go to, New Orleans every year they have vampire ball down there, and, it's big to do type thing. So, yeah.
Yeah.
It's very, very, very different,
Have you ever heard of any, like, we're going to go back here, modern day era, 2025, anything about, I've heard something like this before about, we're going back to the practices of dark magic, where there's these people out there that can perform this, and they can put on spells, and they're deep in these cults that we were just talking about, that they can conjure up vampire type entities, right? But not like the undead, like we're saying, not like, from risen from the grave, but people that actually commit and act like murderous vampires through the uses of dark magic and all these dark forces. Have you heard anything about that? And maybe that could have been what we were referring to earlier, even.
Well, I think if there is anything like that, it wouldn't be it's not like they're going to post that publicly. If there was something real dark. Right. Of course, we had Satanic Panic. I think that was like a diversion in the media to kind of point you like, how silly is this? Because it was kind of silly. But I think there is something real. And then look, whether or not it's real, they believe it is. And that's the dangerous part of all things. And there are, like I said, there are people who believe that in things like adrenochrome, and that if you terrorize people, you can get a special kick in their blood, and it happens with torture and frightening them, and that's there. And I highly doubt anyone's ever going to admit that or post that online. I don't know. I've never heard of any kind of serial killer thing where they were doing that for adrenochrome, maybe for kicks, maybe they were sadistic, but I've never heard of them saying they're an actual vampire. But I don't doubt that there's ancient bloodlines that may still believe that. I have no proof. I doubt I'll ever will.
Yeah. Interesting stuff, man. That's for sure.
It is pretty interesting. We'll kind of switch to a few of the movie things. Maybe go around the room in a minute. But I got to tell you, for me personally, I don't know if you're familiar with this, Krista. I mean, you probably are. I know you've seen them, the Hammer films with vampires with Peter Christopher Lee.
Yeah.
I think those, I'm just going to go around there. I'll go first. I think those were my favorites back in the 70s. I think it had all the elements. He wasn't ugly. He wasn't the most attractive, but he just had that right look. But I think as an actor, he hit it every movie.
Yeah. And he was dangerous. He wasn't like you believed, like with Bela Lugosi, he was suave and had a little elegance and he had the accent, but you didn't feel like, oh, like you felt like I could punch that guy in the head and take him out, right?
Yeah.
With Christopher Lee, you
Yeah.
feel like this guy's dangerous and
Yeah.
I'm actually scared of him. He could mess me up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And he felt like an authoritative aristocrat. He had that feel. And interestingly enough, Christopher Lee is related to Charlemagne. So he has royal blood descendant. So maybe that's why. But he had that feel and it was believable. And he was, of course, tall, dark, authoritative. He had all those elements. Yeah, he's a great. I did a poll on my YouTube channel, like, what's your favorite? And he won out. He won out over Bela, Gary, and other ones. So people still love him.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Yeah. What did you like? Who was your favorite, Chris, the actor in the vampire realm? Or series, or whatever you want to go with.
Well, I said earlier, I've always liked The Lost Boys, and I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Like, I had a teenage daughter when Twilight was out, and I watched all of them. So, so went to the movies to see them. So, yeah, I kind of like those.
I seen the first one, and then I had a kid, and I was just at that. He was really young, and I wasn't into it so much. Then I was into being mommy, and he was little.
I had a teenage daughter who was into it, so we went and saw
my son hates horror movies. My son hates any of that stuff. He's like, no, I'm not interested.
Right. But I do. The Lost Boys, I think that's a pretty scary movie. Actually, I remember when that came out. I went to the movies and saw that back in the late 80s or mid 80s.
87, I think it was.
Like
87.
I think it was in the 80s.
Yeah, and that's still, I could sit and watch that movie like to this day. That one.
It is fantastic.
I like that movie.
And I seen it when I was like 11, like the year it came out in VHS, and it was like our favorite movie when I was a kid.
Yep. There's some good ones back then.
There were, and like I said, I was a little kid, 5 or 6 years old, maybe a little older to remember, right? I remember it was odd because my mom and dad were gone. It was, I think, around New Year's Eve. We had a babysitter and stuff, so I was pretty young. And I was going through the TV, and of course, there's no cable back then when I was growing up. It was like a public television. Okay. Now, public television could be a little risque. I remember as a kid growing up. And I came across this actor. It was a vampire. It was a movie, but it was a play. And it was with this guy named Louis Jordan or something like that.
That's the BBC Dracula.
Oh,
1977.
Man. That, you guys, that is probably my top 5. It was so
one
realistic.
Of the closest. It's one of the closest to the book.
And the story was great, right? Because everyone loved that one with what's his face and Winona Ryder. I didn't like that one.
Yeah. I love that.
What one is that?
That's the Coppola. That's the Coppola Dracula from 92. Okay.
So you liked that one?
Yeah, it's not my favorite anymore, but it was my favorite at 15. I absolutely loved it.
Okay, yeah. I guess I don't like the ones with the love stories, I guess.
Well, it's weird about the love stories because there's no love story in the book. It doesn't exist.
Right.
That actually came to with when Dan Curtis did the TV show Dark Shadows with Barnabas. You first had this tragic vampire, and then Dan Curtis did a Dracula version with what's his name? Oh no, Jack Palance, and he had this tragic love loss. So actually, you can blame Dark Shadows for kind of starting that tragic vampire thing. He was the first to do it, and I don't know if anybody here has ever watched Dark Shadows. I love watching it. It's kind of campy and funny, but it was that big. It's like a basically vampire paranormal soap opera from the 60s and 70s. It was pretty popular in its time. Yeah, pretty popular with Barnabas and all that stuff. So that's kind of the origins in film on that one, because the vampire, although he may have been seductive, he was never looking for his long lost love.
Oh. Wow. What else I got to tell you, I'm gonna admit to it, but the TV show I liked was Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Buffy.
Mhm.
I hear they're making a sequel.
I will tell you this. I did like it as well.
That's funny.
That's
I just
good.
had someone message me about what about the Vampire in Brooklyn with Eddie Murphy?
I never
You know
saw
what?
that. I never
I
saw
only
it.
seen parts of it. I don't even remember it.
Yeah,
I should go watch it. Eddie Murphy's funny.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't watch it because Eddie Murphy I associated with a comedy, and when I come to my vampires, I don't want to watch comedy.
You don't want to
vampire
laugh through it.
Not really. I
there's-
mean, I watch Eddie Murphy
What
from
about
things, but
what about Dracula Dead and Loving It with Leslie Nielsen? That was funny.
okay,
And then,
okay, I retract that statement. Yeah, that was funny. No, I didn't
love
watch
that
that.
one.
Yeah, that's funny. I
you
retract it. And Leslie
gotta
Nielsen, he's the
Mel
he's the
Brooks,
bomb.
come on.
Yeah, no, I must admit I laughed my ass off. That was funny.
It's funny. There's some good ones though. There are some good ones out there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's on a serious note, everybody. I really do all the time. It don't matter if it's Halloween or it's 12 months out of the year.
Mhm.
I always scan vampire movies always and try to find ones I've never seen because it's my favorite movie to watch. And even though a lot of them are the same, you always find some different ones. I even like the one with John Bon Jovi. Okay. If you guys remember
There's
that
one
one?
with John Bon Jovi.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, there is.
Oh my God, you got me.
Yes. Yeah. No, believe it or not, he was pretty good in it. It was a good movie.
I had no idea John Bon Jovi was in a vampire movie.
He was. I thought, oh my God, Bon Jovi's in a movie.
Yeah,
A vampire movie.
He was in that Western movie, but
No, but I gotta tell you, that was a good movie. And also, and of course the one with the other older actor. He's older than us.
no idea.
Yeah, I know.
Vampire Los
he's
Muertos.
He's with there's John Bon Jovi's one.
Yeah, Vampire Los Muertos.
Okay, yeah,
I had to look it up.
Yeah, that's a very good one. The other guy that was RoboCop or whatever. No, not him.
Oh yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger or something?
No, there was one where there's the worst Baldwin actor was in it, and
Alec, Steven.
yeah, Steven.
Yeah.
But the other actor was very popular back in the day. He had the short brown hair.
Billy Baldwin.
Billy Baldwin, yeah, but he was in it. Billy was in it, but who's the main actor though? But anyway, it was the vampire that he was going to be the ultimate vampire because he needed the blood of like the Pope or something.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And he was looking to find the Pope. So these guys were vampire hunters, and they had to find this vampire before he got to the Pope, before he became the most powerful being on the planet. That was a good one too. I forgot the name of the main actor in it. But it was written by the guy that did Halloween.
Oh, John Carpenter.
John Carpenter.
Isn't that just vampires?
I just call it John Carpenter's Vampire. Yeah, that one. I like that one.
I think that's it. Yeah.
That is it.
Yeah, no, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
I like that one.
Yeah.
There's so many good. No, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, Rob and I have a friend, Dennis Carroll, and usually on Halloween he comes on and he'll talk about vampires. And he's actually had a couple of vampire encounters that he's talked about.
Yes, he has. Yeah. Dennis Carroll is the bomb.
You need to BMR. You need to hook Melissa.
Yeah, Melissa, you would love Dennis Carroll. He is like Monster Hunter Supreme. I mean, the guy knows everything.
Oh yeah,
he does. Yeah,
you would love him.
That's awesome.
I don't know the formats of your shows. I'll hook you up with this guy. He is a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, and he used to be a police officer.
Yeah.
Oh, my husband used to be a police officer. Perfect.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Dennis Carroll will be back with us. Actually, he's going to be two more times before Halloween. Once and then again on Halloween. He likes to come on. I'll give you his info. You'd love him. I don't know what you do with your shows if you have any guests like this, but
like I have a guest coming on who wants to talk about energy vampires next week.
I'll be. Yeah.
I know some of them. Oh my goodness.
But I do, and I'm gonna have some authors. I have actually one of my really good friends who's been on my other shows. I'm gonna get him back on. He is a film director, and his father worked for Hammer Horror, and he knew Christopher Lee and all them. So he's super cool. He's British, and he does occult films, but he hates the Gary Oldman Dracula too. He can't stand it. So I think it's funny that I love it. But I love having him on because he does lectures about vampires. He's around that Highgate Cemetery where vampire myths are. So I love having him come on because it's like he knows, he's met them. He met Peter Cushing. He met Christopher Lee. His father used to ride the bus to work with Christopher Lee and all that stuff. So he's got some stories.
Very cool. Thank you, Sean.
Yeah, thank you, Sean, for that. Really briefly, I want to thank Sean for your awesome super chat, Eddie and the Gen Vlogs for your super chat, Pops for 5 new pirates. Arr, mateys. Thank you so much for all that, you guys. Yeah, let's talk a little bit. You know, you do have this channel, YouTube, of course, Velvet Blue Radio. The links are posted here, and I know that Sunny's been posting it. Yeah, talk us a little bit about that, you know, because I already subscribed. I've checked out a little bit. I think it's very cool because anything vampire I'm into, and I personally think it's cool. So what's that all about?
Well, I've done so many podcasts, and I've done esoteric and paranormal. And I didn't want to do political stuff anymore. I was doing a lot of politics, and I wanted to leave that behind because it's just like it's too consuming. Yeah. And it's all a pile of crap anyways. So I always watch vampire stuff, and I knew about the history, and I had studied it when I was young, and my husband would hear me talk about it. So he's like, you should do your podcast. You need to change and talk about this stuff. So I was like, okay, I'll do it. Cause I wasn't sure what I was going to do and how I was going to move it. So I have my degree in graphic design. So I was just like, let's get it going. And I got it up and running. And I want to go into the folklore, the films, and have guests on and talk about if they've had a vampire experience, because I haven't. So I'm like, that's fascinating. And so I do that show on Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern. But I also want to do a show Tuesday nights that's a little different. It's like a simulation vampire. I want to talk about how it's a little bit different. It's not as gothic. It's going to have a different feel to it, where I talk about how this is a simulation and how we're being drained dry by it and stuff like that, and get into different elements there. So it's 2 very different feels. It's definitely always going to be the Thursday night and maybe some Tuesday nights, and just go with the folklore, go with the films, go with what's like hot topics, what I find out. I also have a Substack that I write articles on. The podcast is available free there, so people can check it out for free or subscribe. So I write little articles and stuff like that. So, and just between podcasting and writing. And
no, that's pretty cool. That's good. Another good place to go to if you're interested in vampires, which I am. So I definitely am going to check that out.
Yep.
You know, you had mentioned you talk a lot about the movies. We've touched on some movies. Do you think, though, we talked about the folklore? I'm kind of retracting back to earlier in the show. Do you think that some of these movie scripts, and I know a lot of them are all the same, but yet there's a lot of different ones. So pretty much in surmising this show, you don't believe in the actual bloodsucker or the undead, but you do believe that there is something to all of this vampire stuff. I mean, if you're just to surmise the show.
Well, never say never.
Okay.
I've never experienced or seen a real vampire that's bitten someone and transformed them into a vampire the way it happens in the novel. But I mean, I believe that people can be possessed and weird things can happen, and that we don't know everything in life. And that's why I have the show, to explore that. And I'm not going to pretend that I know everything. And that's the whole point of the Tuesday show, is I know very little. So do we all. So let's just keep talking about it and see if we can find out new things, because how do I know there's not some kind of weird thing going on in this world? I don't.
That's right. There's a lot of weirdness in this world that, I always thought were, like you said, just scary stories. And the more that I've done this, I've come to realize, my gosh, there's credible people out there who have, encountered this kind of stuff, like vampires and Bigfoot, and
Yeah, and And it even goes back to, what we were talking about earlier in the show about the paranormal and ghosts, how we're all brought up by our parents. You're having a nightmare. You didn't see the ghost, or you didn't see this object. You didn't see the UFO, It's all in your dreams. And I've been told that a lot throughout my life growing up, and everybody has.
Mm-hmm.
Problem is, now that I'm older and had my own real experiences that I know as an adult were real, I look back at my youth, my childhood. I'm like, I know mom and dad were protecting me, but I guess no, they were wrong, because I did see something back when I was 7.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. There's some scary stuff out
And
there.
that's really the mystery.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. And it's an interesting world, and there's many dimensions. There's many things that it's not necessarily a place up there. There's things overlapping, and I think sometimes too we get that look, we get that hint in that overlapping dimension, and who knows what that is.
Who knows what that is? You just make up a great point too, because there might be a vampire on the other side of the veil that we don't know about that slips through. Doesn't necessarily have to be an undead human. It could be something that's in a different plane, a different dimensional realm. And they happen to walk through that thin veil, because we all know the veil is thinning, right, everybody? You just don't know what's on the other side of that wall.
Yep,
that veil. That
exactly
is really what I'm interested in. What's on the other side?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Rob, I don't know if you know this, but the cat's been here throughout the whole show.
Oh, there's my buddy.
So she's been laying here.
Yeah.
Loves Rob.
Yeah.
Hears his voice, she comes running.
Yeah, and that's crazy.
Aw.
I know.
Good. Now my dog's trying to jump up here.
Oh, yeah.
Dog I see a cat.
Sweetie Petey. He's so sweet. He loves the cats. Both my dogs love the cats. My husband has a dog that goes with him on the truck. He tries to beat everyone up. But my 2 guys that stay here, they're like, oh, kitty.
Yep. I have dogs too, and they get along good with my cat too. So.
Good.
Awesome.
Yep. And my cat loves Rob, even when he was here at my house.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, he or she, I forget, a girl? It's a girl. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was down at my legs, curled up, and she just wouldn't leave. And she was just like wrapped around me.
Yeah.
Then she started moving up my body, and there she is. I look at her, she's looking at me in the morning. I'm like, holy cow.
Yeah. That's funny, because I will literally, if I die, I have to will my cat to Rob.
Yeah.
Aw.
Yeah, hopefully you don't die anytime soon.
But
My best friend just died 2 weeks ago, 50.
I'm
One of my
sorry.
great, not my best friend, but family friend, which was terrible. I did that on Sunday. We had one of those celebrational lives, which actually was good. It was very good. I thought it would be sad, but it was very. It is what it is. It was a celebration, right? Yeah, this has been a great show, Melissa. I'll have to maybe have you come back during Halloween, and when
absolutely hit me up. I'm here.
And boy, Krista, again, the conference is coming up soon. Get those tickets on Eventbrite. They're posted on all of our channels.
Yeah.
This Thursday, I'm really looking forward to it, because me and Monica, I don't have many guests usually on Thursday afternoon at 1. Brian Bowden's coming on, and we're doing Dreamscape. We're breaking down mine and Monica's dreams, and we're going to talk about that. And anybody in the chat that might want to join us that has a dream to break down, so it might be a little interaction with the chat room, and because my dreams, Krista. I mean, and Brian knows his stuff when it comes to dreams.
Yes,
What do you got going on Thursday?
So we have Thursday night, we have our good friend, Josh Hurd from Malvern Manor, and he's going to be a speaker at Crossing Realms Conference. And he's just such a fun guy. So tune in. He's awesome. He is the best.
Awesome. Once again, thanks to Eddie, Gary Sr., and Sean for your awesome support and love of the show. Hit that like button on your way out.
Can I say something else really quick?
You can. Yes, okay. You can, Kristen.
So Sunday evening, tune in to Eddie and Jen, because I will be on their show on Sunday evening at 7 p.m. Central.
Ah, very nice.
I'm going to go
Eddie
hang out
and Jen.
with Eddie and Jen and the fam over there.
Yes, I like Eddie and Jen vlogs. I catch it when I can, and when I do, it's always a fun show. It's a variety show. They talk about everything under the wall, paranormal and everyday life stuff. It's a cool show. They're good people, very good people. I can't wait to meet them one day. I'm sure I'll come across their paths.
You know, I'm doing like 7 shows this week because Friday I'm doing Spaced Out Radio.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, there's going to be a lot of BMR on the airwaves in September and October because I've recorded 6 in the month of July that are all coming out. And I can say this, but it's going to be the end of the year. I will be featured in one of the featured people. You know, I got like a 15-minute part or whatever. The Dawn of the Dog Man with Small Town Monsters. I'll be in that. Yeah.
Yep.
Looking forward to that one.
Yeah. Yeah, you got a lot going on too. We both do.
Yeah, and I'm finally done doing other people's shows for a while because I just wanted to crank my butt out there on the media waves, right?
Not me. I've got 3 of them. One Friday, one Sunday, and one Monday. Yeah,
I got 2 more left here in September. What month is this? I got 2 more left in August.
I know, right? Yeah.
And Melissa, always hit me up if you want a cool story. I'm a very good storyteller. I can tell you some cool stories.
Absolutely. You guys are welcome to come on my show anytime.
Yeah, same. I'll have you on Blunts and Booze too.
I love the name. I love the name.
All right. Thanks to everybody once again for coming in. Appreciate it. You guys rock. Melissa, great job. You rock. I love your channel. Subscribe to Melissa. With that being said, we're going to take it away with our conference advertising. Good night, everybody.
Night.
This is the future. Evolution.
The Crossing Realms Conference launches September 19th and 20th and will dock in Richmond, Missouri. This is already being called the event of the year, folks. With an unprecedented list of speakers and special guests, 2 days of cryptids, UFOs, and paranormal presentations, along with a celebrity-filled ghost hunt, meet and greet, gallery reading, vendors, and a film screening. This promises to be both educational and fun. Go to Eventbrite.com to secure your tickets and vendor slots before they are all abducted. They're going fast.